Nevada, in hot pursuit of a married man twice her age. She had returned 4 years ago without explanation and had wrangled Vince to the altar in short order. Amy belonged and was out of place at the same time, like a grown woman forced to move back into her teenage room, plotting a woman's schemes while laying amongst a girl's stuffed animals and high school pennants. The four of them were friendly and familiar enough, having all grown up in the same South Philly neighborhood, though at different times and ages, but Angelina was always sure to keep in mind that it didn't pay to fool yourself into thinking that you could count too much on your close personal friendship with your boss. One minute you're all one big happy family. The next, you've accidentally crossed some line which was always moving, and just that quickly you're out in the cold. You can never be equals when one of you is writing the other's paycheck. It had been a nice, genial get-together that Saturday night. Vince and Amy, Angelina and Frank, and 2 other couples. It had started off innocently, with drinks, a couple of trays of crab puffs and cocktail wieners from the freezer section, chips and dip. Dinner had been simple enough, a big family-style bowl of salad, good steaks, baked potatoes with sour cream and chives, and steamed broccoli boiled in a bag, swimming in a prefabricated cheddar cheese sauce. They opened a couple of bottles of wine that were too expensive for the occasion and passed a companionable meal talking about the rain, the Phillies' chances, and the trouble Vince was having getting an approval for the wraparound deck he was adding to his house down the shore. Then came coffee and cake. It was a pretty cake. White frosting with a decorative swirl of chocolate sauce on top, a chocolate-covered strawberry in the center, adorned with slivers of toasted almonds on the side. Angelina knew it was going to be good before she tasted it. She recognized the style right away. It was from Tolerico's bakery, and old Mr. Tolerico knew what he was doing. The men dug right in. "Wow, Amy," said Frank, always quick with a sincere compliment, which was one of the qualities Angelina loved about him. "What kind of cake is this?" "It's an Italian rum cake." "Did you make this yourself?" asked Frank. "Sure did," said Amy. There it was. Liar, thought Angelina. That the cake was from Tolerico's was beyond any doubt. Angelina had recognized it as easily as if the old man had signed it. She knew the decoration, the flavors. She could probably write up the recipe in her sleep. In fact, she could write a better recipe in her sleep. Angelina felt the heat rising at the back of her neck. She couldn't just let it pass, on principle, but calling Amy on it in front of the others was out of the question. Maybe she just needed a little nudge toward confession. Without taking her eyes off her cake, Angelina said, "The buttercream is really nice. Did you poach the eggs in the syrup or make the custard first?" Any baker capable of making this cake would know which was the more stable emulsion method, the one that keeps in the refrigerator longer if you're making it a day or 2 ahead for guests. She was pretty sure Amy wouldn't. Angelina had dark, penetrating eyes. She had been told more than once that she often unnerved people she hardly knew by looking at them too intently, so she looked purposefully down at her plate and listened for her answer. "I just did it the regular way," said Amy after a noticeable hesitation. "Oh," said Angelina. "Busted," she thought. Taking credit for a cake you couldn't bake if your life depended on it, that you'd bought instead, was so like Amy. She would have told the same lie to the first person who'd asked. It just happened to be Frank. But the way she'd said it, preening, flirtatious, almost as if she'd been making a play for her husband right in front of her, and under false pretenses, no less. It was like stroking a cat's fur backward. It rubbed Angelina the wrong way. Or maybe, Angelina thought, if she were going to be completely honest, maybe she was just jealous. Not jealous of Amy, that would be beyond ridiculous and beyond unfair to a man like Frank. But maybe she was jealous that her husband might possibly like somebody else's cake just a little too much. Maybe the fact that it was lying Amy's cake was just the icing. As they drove home after the party, she'd told Frank about the deception, and he had treated it lightly, as she knew he would. "So, if you needed a heart transplant, and Amy was your doctor and told you she could do it, but she was really a podiatrist, that would be okay with you," Angelina had argued.